Hi and welcome to CVs with Impact. We're going to go through the different parts of your CV to make sure we maximise your profile. The reason we need to do this is that your CV is a marketing product and it is marketing you. If you're simply listing your achievements and the duties you've carried out, you're possibly boring the reader, but more commonly you're not being shortlisted for the jobs that you could actually do. Sadly, those that get shortlisted have the best CVs and not necessarily always the best people for the role. The best way of overcoming this problem is ensuring that you're using industry keywords, and one of the easiest ways of doing this is finding job adverts for something you are interested in and gathering about 10 job adverts and going through what keywords, skills, knowledge and behaviours are generally required for your industry and your sector. Be specific to the country you wish to work in. Now on the right hand side you can see a list of websites that may be of use to you. There's also something called the 20-second rule, and within this it says that the reader, you need to capture their attention. So you're going to appeal to your reader or appeal to your audience by using keywords from the industry, words that are being highlighted in the job description as desirable or essential, and making it easy for the information to find. This is also of use because the keywords are often looked for by computer-based systems. So items like LinkedIn, Indeed are looking for tag words or keywords when they're looking for people to apply for different roles. On your front page, you're going to be looking for a minimum of 3 sections. The first one is your name, address and contact details. The second part is a summary of your profile, and the third part is a highlighted of a list of skills that you have got. You can also add a fourth element to this, depending on where you are in your career, which is a summary of your achievements to date. So this is what we're looking at. So we're saying name and contact details, then your personal statement or professional profile, and then a summary of your skills. The name is your name. Do not call this CV. It's fairly obvious what it is. The address and your contact details, including your LinkedIn profile, need to be here, but they do not need to be huge. So you can change the size of these because if an employer wishes to contact you, they will look for this information. So this isn't information you have to highlight. But if you put it in the header, it will ensure that it appears on each page of your CV. Then we'll have a look at your personal statement and professional profile. Call it one or the other, whichever you prefer. This is your mission statement. This is saying to the potential employer why they should recruit you. Now you need to open this up with a catchy statement, and then you're also going to go through why they should employ you, avoiding any buzzwords. So for example, an awful lot of CVs will include I'm great working in a team and independently. Most people, if not everybody, pretty much can be a team player when they need to be. And you can also work independently when you need to. So these buzzwords and phrases are so commonly used, it doesn't mean your CV will stand out. What you do want to include here though is the keywords for your industry. What I would suggest is you write in full sentences, either in the first person or the third person. And this will highlight that you are able to write reports in full grammatical sentence, as well as doing the bullet points that will follow in your CV. Now this is going to take a little time, and what I would suggest is you have one CV that is your go-to CV that will probably be about 6-7 pages long, but it will have all of the information in there, and then you will tailor a CV for each job that you wish to go for. Often students ask me for a hand with writing this because this is the area they struggle just to get started. So what I would suggest is go for who you are, what you can offer the employer, and what your career goals are. This could be something as simple as I'm a recent graduate or I'm an undergraduate studying, and explain it. You don't need to put the qualification grades in because the employer can go and look for those underneath your qualifications section. You might want to highlight in this area that you've got qualifications, and you've got industry experience. But this will give you a start from which to build. So you can see here under skills expertise, we're going to put a list of all the items. Now the easiest way of doing this is make yourself a list of all of the bullet points that you want to include in here, so the 10 or 12, and then you're going to go and format it into 2 or 3 columns. So I've just put a note in there to help you about that. Our next area that we're going to look at is going to be qualifications. Now you can choose whether employer history goes next or qualifications. It's generally whatever is your stronger area. So if we look at your education, understand what the employer is looking for. They don't generally want to know where you studied, they're more intrigued with what qualifications you have. So you will put in bold the qualification, then the location of where you studied. And bear in mind it's the university that is going to be listed on your certificate. So at UCP, currently we use Anglia Ruskin University. And then the year that you gained the qualification. You will then want to pull out 5 or 6 at the most modules that are applicable to the role that you're applying for. And then you may want to put in here impact and skills that you have developed, and we'll look at that shortly. Then you repeat it, looking at the next qualification down, so A levels in this case, and then again going to GCSEs. As you can see with A levels, you do subject and grade, because generally there's only 3 to 5 listed. With GCSEs or O levels, because there's quite a few more, you can actually put X number of GCSEs ranging from these grades, including. Make sure if they're after any qualifications in particular on the job description that you include these. If you're applying for a job or studying abroad, for example in America, you may wish to change A levels to their equivalent. So for example, AP examination equivalent, and then list your A levels. If on the other hand you are applying to a UK business and you have qualifications from abroad, you might need to put A level equivalent and then state what your equivalent was that you gained. There may be other qualifications or training that you wish to include. Now, if this is the case, you can either give yourself a new area called training, or you can add it under your education/training section. It will include things such as first aid, language qualifications, but it is up to you the format that you use. You can see here on our CV that we've listed our degree with our modules, any key achievements, so you might have been learner of the term, and the skills that you developed during this degree. You only tend to do this for your highest qualification, so a degree, and possibly if you're going on to do a master's or a doctorate, you might wish to add them in there. But you don't generally include this level of detail for A levels and GCSEs unless the job you're going for doesn't allow you to have enough information in your degree. So for example, you might have a degree studying public services or forensics, but you're going for a business management job. Your A level might include business management, and in there you might want to unpick what you studied at A level, just to highlight that you've got those skills. So your other qualifications and your qualifications can be merged together. It is your choice. But however you do it, just make sure that the education establishment and all the dates stay in line and the formatting stays the same. So the title, the bullet points for listing what it was that you studied, etc. So now we'll have a look at employment section. And for each employment section, this includes work experience, internships, placements, etc. You're going to start with the most recent. Now you can either put the company name first or the title of the role. but whatever you do in the first one, you do that the same for all of the others that you list. You'll do your range of dates, and you will do the duties, the impact, and the skills that you've developed. This is the most frequently missed section in undergraduate and graduate CVs, and often is the reason for people not being shortlisted. And the reason this is important is the CV is about marketing yourself, but you're marketing the impact you have made and the potential impact you could make to the future employer. It's not looking for essays, it's short and sweet, so again use your bullet points. And keep an eye on your language. It might be you want to use active instead of passive. For example, involved in the promotion. Well, were you actually doing the promotion or were you just part of it? Well, if you were helping to promote, you were promoting. So I would possibly change that to I promoted the company at, or promoted the company at industry events if I was making it into a bullet point. This is quite a difficult concept for people to get their head around, and there's two methods that are very common to help in these types of situations. One of them is called STARS, and STARS stands for what's the situation, what's the task, what's the action, what was the result, and what were the skills you developed. So you can take what the job is and highlight that against it. The alternative one is called PARS, very, very similar. What was the problem? What actions did you take? What were the results? And what skills have you developed? So let me give you an example that will help. So I've tried to find one that is common to all of you maybe. So working in a bar or a restaurant, retail, similar sort of thing. So the first step is you're going to write down STARS or PARS down the left hand side, and you're going to identify what it is that you did. So in my case, I served in a bar, in a micro pub, and I was responsible for serving customers, managing the deliveries, maintaining stock, etc. And when I was hired, they told me that they weren't hitting their expected sales figures. So I realised that if we widened out what they sold, for example, gins and different vodkas, popped in maybe a coffee machine and did a couple of quiz nights, we could increase our audience. And what the result was that in 4 months, we did increase the number of people we had coming through, we took on additional staff, etc. And these are the skills that I developed. Now from this, we then need to make that CV ready. So this is what it would lead to. So I led a plan to resolve a profit decline at ABC Micropub. I redesigned the stock held, etc. This was the impact, and these were the skills that I developed. I've had to change the language to be business appropriate. I am going for a graduate role. I therefore need to demonstrate that I can work at graduate level. Using the PARS method, we get similar things. So for example, a role that I had for management, we had some high labour costs, and I was asked to really look at bringing those down. These are the actions I took, this is what it resulted in, and these were the skills I learned. And that bottom paragraph is what I would put onto my CV. What you need to do is work out what the business drivers are for the role that you're applying for. The employees care about what you can do for their business. So they often want to see things relating to their product, their profit, efficiency, customer drive, driving and beating competition, customer satisfaction, improving quality. So have you done anything that helped them meet any of these type of goals? Did you look at saving money, making efficiencies, completing maintenance requirements, improving their capabilities? So if you've done staff training, etc., these are the type of things you may wish to consider. So what we can now do is have a look at the CV itself. So on my CV, I've chosen to go with job title first, then who my employer is, and the date that I was employed, so 2017 to 2020. I'm then going to do 1 or 2 bullet points with my duties, just remembering to use business language to make it more formal. And I'm going to put impact in bold because I want them to recognise that, and I want to put in skills bold as well. So again, these are highlighting these key points. I want to make sure that as I'm going through highlighting skills in each job, that I've also covered the skills that I've done as a core set of skills right at the beginning of the first page. So all the way through, there's this common element of I'm evidencing every skill that I've said I've got by highlighting which jobs that they were developed in. That format then copies through to every other job we do. So we will work backwards. You can include work experience and internships in this. Just make sure your title, where it says employer related history, would say employer stroke internship or work experience history. So you can choose how you make the layout. We then want to have a look at other achievements and interests. With your achievements and interests, you're going to put hobbies, etc. in here, but only those that actually apply to the job. And you need to demonstrate why you're putting them in here. So for example, if you are achieved boxing qualifications and won trophies in, I don't know, let's say Cambridgeshire, you might want to pop that in here, but you need to say why. So what skills did you develop? What impact did it have? So again, go back and use stars for any of your hobbies and your interests that you want to highlight in here. You've then got a section that asks for other information. And additional information could be things like publications, any research. You might want to pop in here you've got a full clean driving licence, or you speak a foreign language. And then your final part will be references. And you'll simply put references are available upon request. If we go back to your CV, you can see in your CV that you can separate out other achievements and interests and the additional information, or you could choose to put them together. So if I've only got one thing under other achievements and I'm also struggling for space, I would probably pull those two paragraphs together and I would call it other achievements and additional information, or just additional information. So it doesn't matter how you choose to do it. The reason in references we put can be supplied upon request is you want to keep control of who has access to that information. So on your main CV, that's your go-to CV, you might list them in full. But on the CV that you're going to send out to your employer, you're not going to state their full name and address. Once you've written your CV, please get somebody else to double check it. You will miss words, you will misspell things and not see it. So once it's been double checked, go through and make sure your CV feels uncluttered. Don't have long paragraphs in there. Don't be scared of white space. It's allowed space. You might need a daring visual approach if you're going for a creative-based role. But other than that, generally the rule of thumb is make it easy to read so that 20-second rule can be very quick to apply. Keep your fonts and your formatting to a minimum. So you tend to use one type of font and a maximum of 3 different sizes. Don't suddenly introduce italic in one section if you've not been using it throughout. So just keep your attention to detail. Finally, just double check your spelling from an English or American point of view. If you're applying for a job in the UK, you should only be using English spelling. For those of you that might be going for creative roles or feel that you need to have a CV that really stands out just from an art point of view, if you like, there's some websites here that might give you just some ideas and some feedback from it. So that's your whistle-stop tour for CVs with impact. There are other recordings that relate to things like your LinkedIn profiles, how to identify mentors, etc. So please have a look at them. Once you've got your CV up and running, then you will need to make sure your LinkedIn profile mimics this. So your endorsements are standing out so that when your employer looks at your LinkedIn profile against your CV, they can see who you are and what your interests are. Good luck with it, and if there's any problems, please contact me on this email address.